Good morning and welcome to Casas. We're so glad you're here. Whether today is your very first Sunday or you've been with us for a while, this is a place where you can belong. You can text guest to the number below and someone from our team will reach out to you. Or you can fill out the welcome card that's in front of you and bring it to Next Steps after the service. Over there, you can meet someone face to face, ask questions, and discover how to take a step towards connection. One of the best ways you can help FallFest is through our candy drive. Each year, thousands of pieces of candy go out to kids and families in our community, and you can be a part of making it happen. Just bring a bag or two of candy and drop it off at the meetup. Every donation helps create an incredible, welcoming experience for our neighbors and a night filled with fun. Thank you for being here today and for joining us. We're so glad you're part of this community, and we can't wait to see how God continues to move through you this week.
Good morning, church. We're so glad you're with us. Let's stand and we'll worship together.
To the blood,
Keep calling his name. Just keep calling his name. I sought the Lord and he answered me. He delivered me from all my fears. Those who look to him are radiant. They won't be put to shame. Keep calling his name. Keep calling his name. Keep calling his name. Keep calling his name. Oh, keep calling his name. Calling his name. Keep calling his name. Calling his name. That's who he is. That's what he does. So keep calling his name. He did it then, he'll do it now. So keep lifting your faith. That's who he is, that's what he does. So keep calling his name. He did it then, he'll do it now. He never fails, he never will. He never stops making a way. I will sing of what the Lord can do. He's never changed, he never will. He never stops making a way. I will sing of what the Lord can do.
Let's sing this together. There's a grace when the heart is under fire. Another way when the walls are closing in. When I look at the space between where I used to be and this reckoning, I know that we'll never be alone. There was another in the fire, standing next to me. There was another in the water, holding back the sea. Could I ever need reminding how I've been set free? There's a cross that bears the burden. Another died for me. There is another in the fire. All my dead left for dead beneath the water. I'm no longer a slave to my sin anymore. Should I fall in the space between what remains unseen and this reckoning? Either way, I won't bow to the things of this world. And I know I will never be alone. There's another in the fire, standing next to me. There is another in the waters, holding back the seas. Should I ever need reminding, the power set me free. There is a grave that holds nobody, and that power lives in me. There is another in the fire. Oh, there is another in the fire. Oh, fire. Oh, sing, I can see the light in the darkness as the darkness bows to him. I can hear the roar and the heavens as the space between wears thin. I can feel the ground shake beneath us as the prison walls cave in. Nothing stands between us. Nothing stands between us. Look to you, Jesus, and call on your name. Let's sing this together. There is no other name but the name that is Jesus. He who was and still is and will be through it all. Come what may in the space between all the things unseen and this reckoning, I know I will never be alone. I know I will never be alone. There'll be another in the fire standing next to me. There'll be another in the waters holding back the seas. Should I ever need reminding how good you've been to me, count the joy come every battle, 'cause I know that's where you'll be. I can see a light in the darkness as the darkness bows to him. I can hear the roar in the heavens as the space between wears thin. I can feel the ground shake beneath us as the prison walls cave in. Nothing stands between us. Nothing stands between us. Be another in the fire standing next to me. Be another in the water holding back the sea. Should I ever need reminding how good you've been to me, I'll count the joy from every battle, 'cause you know that's where you'll be. Count the joy come every battle, 'cause I know that's where you'll be. I'll count the joy come every battle, 'cause I know that's where you'll be. I'll count the joy come every battle, 'cause I know that's where you'll be. Count the joy come every battle, 'cause I know that's where you'll be.
I'm confident I'll see it again and again. You love and I've witnessed it. You heal and I've witnessed it. You save and I've witnessed it. And I'm confident I'll see it again and again. You're good and I've witnessed it. You're strong and I've witnessed it. You're constant, I've witnessed it. And I'm confident I'll see it again and again. You love and I've witnessed it. You heal and I've witnessed it. You save and I've witnessed it. And I'm confident I'll see it again and again.
Witness your faithfulness. I've seen you breathe life within. So I'll pour out my praise again. You're worthy, God, you're worthy of all of it. Your promises never fail. I've got stories I'll live to tell. So I'll pour out my praise again. You're worthy, God, you're worthy of all of it. To the broken, I'll witness it. To the hurting, I'll witness it. To the lost, I will witness it. And I'll tell them this. I'll tell them what I witnessed. To my family, I'll witness it. To my city, I'll witness it. To the nations, I'll witness it. And I'll tell them this. I'll tell them what I witnessed.
Oh, thank you. I love that song, and Lizette hits it so good. Before you guys sit down, say hi to some of the people next to you. Shake a hand, high five, share a name, I don't know. Good job. All right, once you've had an opportunity, you have smiled at someone, you've chatted, go ahead, grab a seat. We're gonna hang out for a minute. My name is Stacy, and I am the student ministry pastor as well as one of the teaching pastors here at Cassis. Excited to get to hang out with you guys for a moment this Sunday. Oh, bye MSM. Our middle schoolers joined us for worship. I totally spaced. You're beautiful. I love you. I'll see you guys later. Like I said, I hang out with them a lot. So today I am excited to get to hang out with you guys. And one of the things that I recognize is that for a few of you, this might be one of your first times actually choosing to be here and join Cassis Church on a Sunday morning. And while it's wonderful to have you, one of the things that we know is like going to any place, much less a church, sometimes you walk in going like, where do I go and what do I do? But you might also start having questions of like, what is this place? What are they about? What are some of their values and who works here and what is this place? And so because that's one of the reasons that we actually have a place over here that we call Next Steps. For anybody who might be new around here and have some of those questions, after this service, there's gonna be some staff members and some volunteers over here who would love to shake your hand, meet you, introduce themselves, but also get to answer any of those questions that you might have. So if that is you, consider stepping over here to Next Steps after this service to meet some of those people. But you might also be here and say, no, I've been here for a little while. And you know what? I actually really like this church. And I'm curious what it might look like to get more involved, to actually connect to some of that community that they're talking about all the time, or to ask questions about outreach and see what it looks like to get to serve, this Tucson community through Cassis Church. If that's you, that is another great reason to come over and check out Next Steps. If you've been here for a little while, you like this place, and you're wondering what it looks like to take a next step of connection, that is also a good stop for you after this service. So think about it if that's you ever at all after any service over there. Now, I know last week we had an opportunity to announce our annual FallFest event. It is coming up on October 24th. It's a Friday night, and this is a really fun, but honestly a really unique event for us here at Casas, because what we seek to do is actually invite our greater Tucson community to say, come join us right here at Casas Church, right here at this campus, and experience who we uniquely are. Come and experience how much we love you and the acceptance and the space that you will get to find for you or for your family or for your loved ones right here with us. And you know, what I've recognized is being on staff here for a couple years and having experienced this event when thousands of people get to actually come here and experience who we are, to be hosted and to be welcomed by us as a church. This event is so unique and so wonderful for that. You know, I get to see as like thousands of kids show up. I mean, they show up and they kind of take over and they're dressed up, and I watch them bring all of their energy and their fun, and they discover like, this place is awesome. This place is a place I want to be, but also this place is for me, and that they love being here. But I also get to see their parents and their families when they get here, and they start to relax and they start to smile and they start to say, I think my kid, I think my family, I think me, myself, I might be safe here. This might actually be a place that I want to know a little bit more about and spend a little more time at. You know, and I spend most of my time back here at the trunk or treat, and I love that the trunk or treat is such a very clear expression of a value that we hold of being a multi-generational church. Because as those thousands of kids run through our trick or treat and get a lot of candy, they are walking past trunks that might be hosted by a middle school small group or a high school small group. That's next to maybe something that our college students or our young adult group is doing, next to something that any of our adults might be doing, next to their grandparents, next to some of our outreach partners hosting a trunk back there, getting to step in and say that we love you and we are for you, and we hope this is a really fun, awesome night and experience for the kids, but also for their families. You know, this event is a beautiful expression of who we are and who we seek to be in this community. And it is a moment that many people say, I am so glad this church is here. I'm so glad that I know about this place now. And it's only possible because so many of you choose to step in and volunteer on that night. So if you are in here and there's any availability for you on Friday night of October 24th, there should be a QR code up there. And what that QR code will do, if you utilize it, will show you what volunteer opportunities look like for that FallFest event. It might be hosting a trunk, but honestly, there are so many other ways that we get to say to these people that we're glad you're here and we're for you when they show up from our greater Tucson community. So if that's you, I'd love for you to consider volunteering for our FallFest, as well as keeping your own schedule open for that Friday night to plan to be here for such a really fun experience. You know, I know that event and anything that we do here, we do it through the heart and through the mission of who we seek to be as a church. That we here at Casas, we say we want to love people into the acceptance and freedom of Jesus Christ. And what I know is that for many of the people in here, you've experienced that mission. It's actually why you're here. You say, I've experienced that love, I experienced that acceptance in my life or in the life of someone that I care about, and it's meaningful. And that's actually one of the reasons that you choose to financially give here at Casas. You say, that mission is meaningful, and I want more of that experience for the people around me also. And so if you have never given here at Casas, I want to ask you to consider what giving here financially and partnering with us allows you to do is say, I want to be a part of something bigger than just myself, but I also want to be a part as we create more experiences for people to experience God's love and for people to experience not just that they have a place with us, but that they have a place with God. And we've got a few different ways that you can give. We've got giving boxes in the back, but also online on our webpage. We've got a giving page with a lot of different options if you are ever interested in partnering with us financially. You know, we've got a few more things planned this morning, but if we could pause, I'd ask that you guys might join me in praying for this Sunday and maybe for our weeks as well. If you would join me. God, thank you so much for today, for an opportunity to be around people and to get to pause and reflect on your love and your goodness, God. I'm thankful for the love and the people you continue to put in front of us and in our stories. And I pray, not just today, but for this week, that you would help us to find bravery, to find courage, to have eyes open for other ways that we have to give that love away to others also, God. In the name of Jesus, amen. You know, last week we had an opportunity to start a new series that we're calling More Than a Song, and this is our second week in that. And the reason we wanted to do that series is that frankly, here at Cassis, we love worship music, and I know for many of you, you do. But every once in a while, we might have a song that when we actually sing it, we think, I don't think I actually know what that song is about. Or it might be a song that we've grown so familiar with, we go, I don't know if that song actually means anything to me anymore. It's just words, and I haven't paused and reflected on it in a while. And so we wanted to do this series to say, what are 3 songs that we sing a lot around here that we might actually stop and explore, stop and ask those questions. What does this song actually come from? What might it actually mean for my life, for my soul, and for my heart? And so in a moment, Glenn's gonna come out, and he's gonna get to talk to us about a song called Good Plans, and what that song might mean and what it might mean for our own lives. But to kind of have fun with this series, a few of our worship leaders got together and they actually sang parts of each of these songs, but they were challenged to do so in a quirky way. I know some of you saw last week, in a quirky way. We challenged them to say, what would it be like if parts of this song were sang maybe in a rather unexpected musical genre, I don't know, rock and roll or country. And so they have put together a small video for us to get to warm up before Glenn comes out and we get to talk about the song Good Plans. Excited to be with you guys this Sunday.
I know my Father has good plans.
That's definitely. We're keeping that one. You look so intense.
I'm glad, yes. They're kind of getting to have fun with that, and thus we get to have a little fun with it. And I think that's good because, as we look at this song, Good Plans, it's talking about the plans that God has for us. But it's important to realize this song, it's written for moments when we need to be reminded of that. It's written for these moments where we go through difficulty. And originally, I actually wasn't scheduled to preach this morning. And just as I prayed about it this week and kind of wrestled with it a little bit, in fact, it wasn't until Thursday, just thought, given what this song covers and just all that we're experiencing in the world today, and I know some of you at a personal level, I wanted to go ahead and do the message this morning because there's a real pastoral side to this that in just my deepest care in all of this is for you all. As we're trying to navigate some difficult times these days in the world. And so it was just my heart to be able to be in front of you this morning and talk through this. And when we sing this song at the end of the service this morning, I hope that it's a real gift for you, just wherever you are. The song itself, you may not realize this, it's a song we sing a lot around here, but it is actually based off of a particular chapter in the Bible. It's based in a really famous chapter that you've probably heard before, and it's Psalm 23. It's this famous psalm, and the whole song is based off of this. And as we kind of go through the psalm, you'll begin to go, oh my gosh, yeah, I see where that song is actually coming from this. So let me read the 23rd Psalm this morning, because I want to work through a few things with Psalm 23. It says, here's what it says. And if you aren't familiar with it, because I read through it, there'll probably be some parts you're like, oh my gosh, I've heard this on a movie, or I've been at a graveside or a funeral, I've heard this. Here's the 23rd Psalm. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not be in want. He makes me lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside quiet waters. He restores my soul. He guides me in paths of righteousness for his name's sake. And even though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for you are with me. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me. You prepare a table before me in the presence of my enemies. You anoint my head with oil. My cup overflows. Surely goodness and mercy will follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever. And it's just this really, really powerful passage. It was written by a guy by the name of David. And part of what makes it so powerful is it has all of these like iconic lines in it that resonate deeply with us. For instance, in verse 4, when it says, even though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death. And that is such a powerful line and well known, but for a good reason, not just because it's clever with the words or the vocabulary, it's because it grabs a part of our soul. It's touching something in us in these times where we go through difficult things. In the Hebrew, it literally says, it carries the idea of walking in death's shadow. And we've all felt moments where it just seems like things are good or bright. It's like a sunshiny day, and then the next thing we know, like the shadows move in, and just metaphorically, those shadows move in our life, and it's just like, I don't even know which way to go, or I feel something so deeply, like, what do we do now? And David, who writes this, would go on to become like the greatest king Israel ever had, but you realize he's writing this out of his own experience. This was a guy that faced some moments where the sunshine was gone, where the shadows moved in, and he writes this from his own depth of experience in life and his own depth of relationship with God. And I think that's what makes it so powerful. But it also makes it really timely. And again, that's the reason why this morning I wanted to go ahead and really speak to you, just out of a care for just how I know so many of you are trying to navigate things right now. I think about this past week, I had no less than 2 different people that came to me who had found out that someone really close in their family was just diagnosed with cancer. And it's just like those shadows moved in and they're trying to figure it all out. I had another guy who asked me to be praying for him, that things changed where he worked, and what he realized out of this was probably in the next 6 to 8 months, his job is going away, and he's just like, I just never thought I would be in this place, and I'm filled with all these fears. And I mean, maybe it won't go away, but it sure seems like it is. And he's just living in this place about, do I need to do something now? Should I wait and see? And just feeling all of that. Or just bring up your news feed, and it's like just the shootings that have occurred at schools. And I found out this morning, I didn't even know about this, but there were a couple of other shootings, I think just this week. It's all that we're going through as a country with the assassination of Charlie Kirk, and how that continues to play out in ways that aren't going to stop anytime soon, that are just pulling us into great difficulty. It's even, it would be funny if it weren't true, but this week, like on one of the little ticker tapes at the bottom, just one of the lines at the bottom of the news station where they're running things through while I was watching the news, it talked about the Russian jets that invaded NATO airspace. And I didn't think about it later, but it's like, on what week in the past would that not be the absolute dominant story, just going over and over again? And yet I was like, it's like I'm reading this at the bottom of the screen in this moment, or what's happening in Gaza, or the wars, or just whatever it is. And if you're just like, Glenn, this is like, feels overwhelming. Yeah, that you're normal if you feel that in this moment. And we feel this personally, right? There are these moments that there's the thing that's really personal going on in your life. Or maybe it's that global thing, but it is affecting you in a personal way with your friendships and your relationships, or in a personal way that you're struggling with what all of this means. But if you notice, we also wrestle with this collectively. Like we don't get to just go through this by ourselves. We're collectively impacted by all of this. And what I have watched it do is it's like the RPMs of our minds and our hearts are just getting faster and faster and faster. It is revving us up, and things get said and things get felt, and you feel the intensity of it all. It's like a shadow. It's like walking through the valley of death and being under its shadow. And when you're under that shadow, it can just feel hard to see your way forward, can't it? You get these worries like, is this gonna I don't know if it's gonna be okay. And you just feel that everywhere in this. And here's my hope, that as we walk through the 23rd Psalm, and I don't have time to walk through all of it, but there's some things that I wanna walk through this, and I'm really looking forward to you all getting to sing, right? That God has good plans, that this morning would actually be a kind of gift wherever you are, that it would re-anchor you in some way, that as you walk out of here, that regardless of the shadow that you're experiencing that's over you, you'll be anchored. You'll know how to actually move forward in some sort of way that feels like that gift. Now, I say all of that with that hope, and I believe that'll be true. But it's also important to understand what the 23rd Psalm does not promise in this, and thought about this week. It doesn't ever promise that we get to avoid shadows. It never promises that there are quick side roads out of that valley in all of this. Inevitably, what it points to is that there will be times when we simply have to go through those valleys. There will be times of sunshine, and there's gonna be times of great shadows. And there's this line that captures all of that. If you look back at Psalm 23, look at verse 4, and it starts with these words, even though, right? Even though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death. It's not here's how I get out of it. It's saying despite this fact. And it points to this thing of being anchored in something. But it's also this idea that hard moments are ours to walk through. There's just gonna be moments that you don't get to avoid. Right? There are problems that we face at times where you get to choose. Maybe there's a change that you want to make with something you're doing at work, or where you're going to live, or something, and it's like, okay, there's a challenge in front of me, and sometimes we face struggles, and we get to choose. We get to choose whether we're going to engage it, is it worth it, or not. But that's not what I'm talking about this morning. This morning are those shadows that come, and you didn't choose it. It chose you. I remember Angie and I, after we had already had our son Chandler, we wanted to have another child, and so we were trying to get pregnant, and it didn't happen as fast as it did the first time. And so all of a sudden we were like, oh man, and this becomes the story of all of these ups and downs. As at first it was just like, what's wrong? And we can't get pregnant this time. And so see doctors and get it all figured out. And next thing we know, Angie's pregnant. And it just seems like, wow, that's wonderful. God is good. Right? Because those are the times when it's easy to say that. So one of her early appointments, and I don't remember at what stage, but she was pregnant. We went in and saw the doctor, and I think it was during an ultrasound. But I do remember this. The doctor kind of had a funny look on her face. And those are the moments where you're like, I don't like that you have a funny look on your face. I want to know what this means. We're both trying to figure it out. And I couldn't tell if she was confused or had bad news or good news or whatever. And then she got this big smile on her face. She looked at us, and I would not have predicted this in 100 billion years. She looked, and and she goes, you have twins. It's just like, I didn't see that coming. And all of a sudden, there's a little bit of panic in that. It's just like twins. Just like, okay, I was just getting used to the idea of having 2 kids, and now 3. And what does this mean? We don't have a house with enough bedrooms in this thing, or what are we gonna do with it? And just you start going through all of the scenarios in that. But of course, it wasn't long before it became kind of exciting. It's like, oh my gosh, we're gonna have twins. And somewhere in there, we knew it was twin girls. And it's just like, okay, this is exciting. And I'm starting to think about what it would mean to have twins and have 3 kids and just all of this stuff. And I there's one afternoon, early afternoon, I happened to be at a meeting across town. And this was soon after we had moved up on this site. We didn't have our offices up here, and we were trying to figure out how to deal with the old site that we had, because if you don't know, we used to have, Casas used to be at the corner of Ina and La Choya. And so I'm in the middle of, I was actually in a meeting with some lawyers and one or two staff, or one staff that we had from here, and we were trying to figure out all these logistics of the old site and trying to figure out a few things of how to get the offices up here. And I was just like fully engaged in this whole thing, this meeting with the lawyers. And I didn't have a cell phone, and I don't know if it's because I didn't have one. This was a long time ago. I didn't know if I had one then or I'd left it at home or what it was. But I remember at the lawyer's office, a secretary, someone came in and said, there's a call for Glenn. And I'm like, so I take this call. And I'm going over to take the call in the middle of like trying to figure out like, how do we negotiate, do this whole thing in there? And it is my wife, and she is in absolute tears. And what I had forgotten all about, is just not on my mind, is that she had a doctor's appointment that day. And she was actually at the doctor's office. And through tears, she's like, we lost one of the kids. Like we lost, I'm gonna miscarry. And then bawling, she gets the next part out. And the doctor says, we're gonna lose the other one here really soon. And it was just like just this roller coaster. And I remember being in that meeting, and it was just like, there's this like overload. Like in this moment, I am trying to help my wife in this. But the truth is, I'm trying to process what this means to me. And at the same time, like I'm in the middle of this thing with lawyers and trying to figure out things with the old site in this place. And it's just like in a fog. Like the shadow had come over the top in this moment. And like this is still like in the middle of the day. And I remember driving back, just like trying to figure out my world. It's crazy how a 90-second conversation on the phone, right, can just throw you in total darkness, isn't it? Where you're here one moment and the next moment you're over here, and it's just like, I don't know how to move forward. And you don't get to avoid it, right? There's no, I'm just gonna pretend that, I'm just gonna hope this will go away. It doesn't work that way. But there's a part of us that sometimes wants to treat it that way, but all we're doing is just pushing something down that won't ultimately go away. Or we try to get control of it, and we just think, man, if I can just get control of this. And it's like everything in me was just like, let me try and handle something I can control, please. Like, throw me back in with the lawyers. That felt better, right? Than being like trying to figure this whole thing out with the pregnancy. But here's the deal. Right? Sometimes the only way to get to the other side is to go through it. That's the valley of the shadow of death. That's the valley that there's no shortcuts in. The way to get to the other side is you just have to go through it. You don't get to run away from it. You don't get to ignore it. You just have to take a deep breath and face it. It's the moments where you just square up on it and you take a step, and then you take another step. Like the valley of the shadow of death gets crossed one step at a time, doesn't it? And I know so many of you faced moments like this. But there's something that if we can tether ourselves to it, that actually gives us the ability in those moments just to take that next step, right? Because sometimes taking that next step, you can just feel totally paralyzed. And this is something that David gets at in this psalm. He has tethered himself to something here that I want you to see. And he doesn't just do it with simple words. He actually does it with the entire structure of this psalm. David writes this psalm in an ancient Hebrew structure, sometimes called a chiasm. It's a type of poetry where each line mirrors another line. And the whole idea of how this works, and David does this very deliberately, and he's making a point with it. Maybe the most important point in the entire psalm, okay? And that's why just understanding this is important. So here's how it would work, is that the very first line, and it's hard to see this in English, but in Hebrew, you see it work out. The first line mirrors the last line. The second line mirrors the second to last line. And you go on and on until you get to the very middle. And in the middle of that psalm, like if you had it all written out, like you could fold it in half, and there would be one line that sits in the very middle. And for emphasis, I just want you to see this line. It would look something like this. I think they're gonna, so I know you can't read the lines beforehand, but that's the entire 23rd Psalm. And in big, bold letters, that is the very middle of the psalm. For you are with me. It is no accident that that line lands in the middle. I would dare say that David had that line in his mind, and he built Psalm 23 so that it would go through about 6 lines and hit that line, and then do another even amount of lines so that that line lands in the middle. Because this psalm, what he wants us to know, what is anchoring everything he says in this is, God is with you. And the reason is simple. When we go through the valley of the shadow of death, whatever it is, to be tethered with the thought that God is with you just simply becomes paramount in this. And this is where I want to start this morning in how we navigate these moments, whether it's collectively or whether it's you as an individual. After we got the news about like losing the first embryo or child, and just trying to figure out all that meant, there was a part of me that just wanted to put my head down and keep on working. I didn't want to feel the feelings about it. I didn't want to process it. There's just a part of just I just want to go through this. But in the reality is I was isolating myself in this, and it wasn't enabling me to take those next steps the way I would want to take those next steps. But slowly through a process of just coming back to realizing that I'm not alone, and Angie isn't alone, and we're not alone. And being tethered back to this idea that I've got reasons to believe that God is actually with us. So here's the other thing that David does in this structure that is, again, done very purposefully, okay? So through the whole first half, before he gets to that line, every time he speaks of God in the third person. He is talking about God. And he says things like, God is my shepherd and God leads me. Like he's talking about these beautiful things about God. And it's like he's reminding himself, yep, that's what God is like. God is like there's just all these different references, all these things that you would look at. And in a similar way, you and I can do the same thing. Right? There are things that we've experienced in life, and we know this about God. Like there's a kind of goodness that I know about God because I've experienced it. There's a kind of wisdom that God has that I've experienced in the past. There's like all of these different moments. And what is interesting is he goes through this, he only speaks of God in the third person until he gets down to that middle line. And for the first time, he doesn't speak about God. He uses the second person. He is speaking to God. See, that's where he becomes tethered. And there's a part of this that if you need to start with, okay, I'm in this shadow and I don't know which way to go. I don't know my way forward in this thing. Make sure you remember that you're tethered to God. Even if that starts about just talking about God, what you know to be true about God, until you can get to the place where you can actually start talking to God. And then through the rest of this psalm, he is now speaking to God. And he speaks to God in a way as if God is actually with him. And now he begins to experience that reality. Friends, when those shadows hit over the top of you, tether yourself back to God. And I encourage you to do this in a couple ways. One, if you need to write it out. Put it on a Post-it note, pull out a journal, write something in the margin of your Bible. Pray about it, use those words and actually tether yourself back to God. Because once you have that kind of tether, it enables you to keep moving forward in a way that actually allows God to lead you in these next moments. And that's the next thing that I want to point out of Psalm 23, that once we feel that sense of tether, the next thing is let God lead you through healing and restoration. Because there is something that's going to happen to you whenever you go through the valley of the shadow of death, and you will get worn out by it. There's a tiresome thing that occurs in all of us. Look at what he says here. And I'm going to point at something in the first half of this psalm. Look at this. This is starting in verse 2. He says this. He makes me lie down in green pastures. Right? He causes me, some of the translations that you'll have, he causes me to lay down in green pastures. He leads me beside quiet waters. He restores my soul. Literally in the Hebrew, the line is, he gives me my soul back. Because there are moments where it just feels like you've lost your soul. You're completely worn out. And you know, the thing is, if we look back in David's history, scholars would look at it, and there's a lot of different ideas about when David may have written this psalm, because what we would assume is that he was going through something really rough when he writes this psalm. And you look back at the different stories where it might have been a time when David was writing this psalm, and you know what you see in every one of those stories? There was a lot of stuff David needed to be doing. There was a lot of leadership things that needed to be done. There's just like the busyness of it and things to think through and worry about and things to figure out and isn't that what we always experience? I can just picture David in this moment, experiencing a moment where it's like God is saying to David, I want you to lay down, there's a nice grassy spot here. I want you to lay down. And David going like, you don't understand. I got to be in another meeting. There's things, I've got to figure these things out. There are things to worry about and figure out and decisions to make in this moment. I can't just lay down and take a break right now, right? And yet, I wonder if sometimes that's what we need most. And there's this thing where David says, you know what? God was like, David, you got to trust me on this. In a moment where you want to be on guard 100% of the time, you can't do that. You can't be on guard 100% of the time. You can't have your mind fretting and worrying and trying to figure this out all of the time. Because it will wear you down to nothing. And you've got to trust me that I'll protect you in this moment. That if I lead you to lay down in a green pasture right now, you got to trust me. There was a moment where Angie and I were talking with a counselor, and she gave us some great advice at that moment as we're just trying to go through this, because everything in us was just like, okay, another doctor's appointment. We've got to figure this out. And what does this mean? And what does that mean? And everything in me wanted, like, I hate the limbo of this. I want to know, is this little child going to make, is Angie's pregnancy going to continue? Or, because emotionally, I want to get ready for whatever's going to happen. And we were just staying in limbo. And my brain and everything Angie and I were processing, we were both just kind of in that space. And our counselor said this. She said, okay, go home and just like mourn with each other, process it, but I want you to set a timer, she said, for 30 minutes. And when 30 minutes are up, you're done. You're done for the rest of the day. I want you to go for a walk. Go hold hands and go for a walk. Go to the movies if you need to. Watch a show. Call some friends. Do whatever you need to do, but you need to take a break. And there's a part of that we fight against. It's just like, but I don't have it figured out. And my worries, my fears. And she was just adamant. She's like, take a break. You are revving your heart and your mind past, like, have your moment and take the break. Friends, when's the last time you just laid down on a nice grassy spot? When in the last 2 weeks have you just said, I'm not going to watch any news today? Because I think maybe you would find that there's a part of God who's asking you to trust him. That maybe if you find your heart and your mind being revved, if you find yourself on edge with every conversation you have, if you keep processing out, like, what do all these bad things lead, or what could it be, or just, you're hurting yourself. And what I love about this psalm is that David is saying, you know what I learned about God? When I go through those moments, in those moments that are dark and hard and difficult, God really cares about me. Like, God's looking at me just going like, I know it's hard, but I want to take care of you. I know it's difficult, but I want you to get some rest. I want to give you your soul back. And so can I just challenge you on this, is to pay attention to God, and maybe you just need to turn off all social media for a little while. Maybe you need to pick a certain amount of time and just say, I'm not going to watch any news at all. Or maybe it's having a discussion with a friend and just literally just saying, hey, can we just leave X, Y, and Z out of the conversation for right now? I just need to chat about life that leaves a problem. Maybe there's a tension that's really personal between you and someone else. Maybe you just need to set a timer for 30 minutes and say, we're going to do our best to process and think about it for 30 minutes. And then we're just going to leave it over here, and we're going to trust that God will protect us and be at work in it. That's the beauty of this psalm. It's not just saying God's going to say, you just keep trudging through, but God wants you to have a moment where you get to experience his grace, his giving you your soul back. Now, last thing about that I want to mention before we sing this song, and that I want you to see in all of this. And this is what happens with the second half of Psalm 23. So this first half, he goes through and he talks about God, and he talks about how God cares for him and is going to lead him to those places. It's just like taking a break. And now that he connects so deeply with God is with me, he sees something here that is this remarkable statement, that is a forward-looking statement. That in some ways we'd go like, how could you say this? And here's what he says. It's the first part of verse 6. He says this, surely goodness and mercy will follow me all the days of my life. He's saying, as I look forward, remember, he's in some dark moment. He's saying, God's goodness and God's mercy, God's love, God's joy, it's going to follow me wherever I go in this valley, no matter how gloomy and cloudy it gets, I know what's coming right behind me. And it's going to be God's goodness. And you're just like, well, like, how do you know? Like, you don't have a crystal ball to read the future. How do you know that that's going to be the thing? And part of it is because, remember, the whole first, he's been thinking on all the good things that God has already done. And what he's doing is he's just going, I'm going to trust that God's character that I've experienced back here, that just goes forward. Like, he knows the story. He doesn't have to know exactly where this is going to know the kind of story that God has him in. And that if God's goodness and mercy has been with him in the past, that whatever he faces next, that mercy and that goodness and that joy and that love, it's going to follow him forward. And so here's the point. Let what God has done in your past empower your present. Because there's just moments that you're going to feel like, where's God in this? Where's God's goodness? Is God going to just let bad things happen? Does God not care about what's happening to me or somebody else I know or a relationship I'm in? And I want you to just remember that you have a story about what God has done in your past. And it's the same God who's telling your story in the future. You know, as Angie and I just went through kind of all the turmoil of and kept expecting the moment when they would say, so now you've lost, the second one in this. And you just felt it. And then I remember a doctor's appointment was just like, well, you know? And we knew that it was 2 girls that we lost from. It was like, well, like, second one is still there. And then all of a sudden got hopeful, and the doctor was like, I think you're gonna carry this to like full term. I think this is gonna be okay. And all of a sudden, you know, it's like, oh, this is gonna be okay. There were some complications. In fact, her doctor said, I want to induce labor actually 4 weeks early and actually deliver her by cesarean. So little Colette was born 4 weeks early. And I remember going to the hospital, and you know, that morning, all the way on the other side of town over in St. Joseph's, and the next thing I know, I am holding this little girl. And it was just like, oh my gosh, God, through all of the ups and downs, and it was just like, and all the ups and downs to the story to this point just seem like they don't matter. Like it just, like this, everything is good, right? In fact, I remember I was having kind of fun like only a dad can have fun. The day she was born, I was holding her and she was all swaddled up, and she pushed, you know, she's like, and she pushed a foot through like the swaddling in there, of which that was kind of a foreshadowing of her whole personality too, is the other thing I've come to realize in this thing. And I was sitting there, and you know, and so she was born like 4 weeks early, and she was a little small to begin with, and I had just finished this cup of coffee, and you know, the hospital coffee, they have those little red plastic straws, those little tiny coffee straws or whatever, and I had one of those in my mouth, and I was holding, she was like, and I was sitting there, and I had this straw in my mouth, and I could see her little foot, you know, sticking out, and she was wiggling, and I was like, I took the coffee straw, and it fit perfectly over her little pinky toe. Like I could actually fit that little thing, and I left it on there, and everyone's in the room, they're like, no, you can't, don't do that. And I'm like, yeah, I can't, I'm the dad. I get to do the pinky coffee straw thing right now. This is kind of fun, right? Just like this wonderful moment. And have you ever noticed this? God usually has us walk through one valley of the shadow of death in our lives, and then we're done. No, I was lying just then. Yeah, like that's never how it goes, right? That there's gonna be another valley, and there always is. And sometimes those valleys come fast. You know, so the day Coley was born, by that afternoon, Angie was not feeling well, like really feeling sick, and her blood pressure, or her heart rate was climbing faster and faster, and I think it was her blood pressure started to go down and whatever, and they were concerned. And doctors and nurses were coming in and checking her on a regular basis, and kept thinking it would get better. And by late that evening, she was not doing well at all, and her doctor actually was getting ready to go on a trip, and paused and came back and showed up at her hospital room and was checking on her. And I remember sitting on the side of the bed, of Angie's bed, and her doctor was on the other side, and her doctor was asking her some questions and said, you know, I think here's what's happened. I think in that cesarean, you've got, like, there's a bleeder in there, that you're bleeding internally. And you know, I think you're okay, but we could wait a little longer. But if you're feeling not so well, maybe I could just go back in there and see if I couldn't find that and fix that. Now, she was saying this so calm and saying it in a way as if, I'm gonna let you decide, Angie, and if you want me to do this. But really what I learned right after this was, no, Angie was getting ready to go into emergency surgery, regardless of what Angie was gonna think. Her doctor just wanted her to think that she was the one that was getting to decide this in this moment. Because what we did not know was standing outside the door, literally outside the door, were 10 doctors and nurses just waiting to rush in there. And Angie was like, yeah, I'm feeling like really bad. She goes, yeah, well, and finally Angie's like, you know, if you, maybe we go ahead and do that. Okay. And then her doctor got up, walked over to the door, and literally opened up the door, and they just like, and I remember this rush, like it just really took me by surprise. They literally put 2 IVs in each of her arms, started an immediate blood transfusion, hooked her up, and within what felt like a minute, maybe it was longer, she was whisked out, and I'm like standing in her hospital room, and it's just like debris from all the things that they were opening up and all the things they do, and she was just gone, and I'm standing there. And I'm like, what just like happened? Right? And so they're getting her ready, and then I have a conversation with her doctor, and her doctor's like, yeah, this was turning into something really serious, really fast, and we've got to get in there and stop this. Like this is very serious. And so I went back and got Colette, And I remember like 30 minutes after this, and Angie's in the middle of surgery, and I'm sitting there, and this is life though, right? I am holding my brand new born daughter that is just has me filled with joy and love like a dad could never experience. But at the same time, I am praying, God, please make sure that I don't lose my wife in this moment, right? And it's just like, as fast as you're out of like one valley, you can find yourself in another one in this moment. And I share that story because I know for so many of you, that's real life. But here's the thing that anchors you. Like sitting there, just standing there holding my daughter, it's just like, man, God is a God who's done so many good things in my life. God never promised that there would not be hard times or difficulty, never promised there wouldn't be suffering or pain. But he is a God who has blessed you and has blessed me. There are moments that we have that just fill our souls with goodness. And what David is doing in this moment is he's saying, whatever the situation he is facing, it is an overwhelming one. And yet at the same time, he can just say, I know your goodness and your mercy is gonna follow me because it always has. And without knowing the outcome of what would happen in that emergency surgery room, there was this part of me that I'm gonna pray for my wife, but I'm holding the evidence of God's goodness. And whatever me and that little girl face next, God's goodness is gonna be with us. And if you're new to Casas, my wife made it. She's good, right? I scared some people in the last service because I didn't finish my story, so I'm finishing my story, right? Yeah, and we made it. And this is this psalm that just keeps anchoring us back to God and the things that hold us. So in those moments that you're going through the shadow of the valley of death, there's moments where you can just take a deep breath and you can say, I'm gonna square up on that. I'm gonna take one more step because I know I can take that step because God is with me and his goodness will follow me. And the same token, it gives you permission in those moments to say, I need to just stop and I just need to lay, there's a nice grassy spot next to a stream and I need to just trust God that God's got it while he restores my soul. We all need that. And in times like we're in right now, I just want you to enact this more and more, right? And so as you think about this song, sing this song, not just generically. I want you to sing this song and think about real things, God's real goodness, something that has happened in your past that you hang on to and you just go, God is I'm glad God did that. And as you sing this song actually bounces back and forth between singing about God, right, in the third person, and actually singing to God. And just notice that, sing to God out of those beautiful things that he has done. And about God, let it reinforce this. And the last thing before they come out and do this is, there's a reason why being a community and singing with our voices is important while just having you here. Because there's someone else in this room that needs to hear your voice. You have a gift. Your voice, when you lift your voice and sing about God's good plans, there's someone's in this room, and the reverberation of those words are just gonna sink into there. So you will be a gift to them in these next moments. This is the beauty of what you hold as being a community, being re-centered in the person of Christ who tethers us. And we get to be a gift of bringing that to one another. So let the worship team lead you in being a gift. And then I'm gonna come back and I'll close this before we go.
I want to invite you to stand as we sing this together. The Lord is my shepherd, and He is everything I need. So I will not worry, I will not fear the enemy. He said that He loves me, He said that He's with me, even though I walk through the valley of shadow and death, and still I know He has good plans. He has good plans for me. So I will take heart in deserts and gardens. He has good plans. He has good plans for me. If I know my Father, I know my Father has good plans. Lord is my Savior, why should I doubt my victory? Why would I question the rod and the staff that comforts me? Quiets the waters, quiets the storm inside of me. So what could be better than walking with Him when I believe He has good plans? He has good plans for me. So I will take heart in deserts and gardens. He has good plans. He has good plans for me. If I know my Father, He has.
Thank you all very much. You are a wonderful team. I mean that. And just all the work you're putting into this series, that they're just preparing things for this series. And like, I'm always acutely aware of when I'm speaking of everything in front of me, and then I'm setting up a song. I know nothing behind me. My biggest fear is I'll turn around and no one will be there. And I've just promised to, lead a song, and that would be a bad moment in there. If you are a guest here this morning, it is just so good to have you here. Welcome. And if you get a chance, in fact, I'd love it if you just come over and give me a chance to personally welcome you here to Casas this morning. Or if there's something going on in your life and you'd love to have somebody pray with you or for you, we have some grace-filled people over in our prayer place that would love to be praying for you this morning. Till then, may God just shine his goodness and his mercy and his love deep into your soul. Amen. Have a great morning, and we'll see you next Sunday.
can't stop.